Hi, welcome to another Ox Mods. Well, I've been doing a little bit of cutting on wood and everything was getting a bit dusty. So I thought it's about time I use this case that I bought to put the electrics in. So before I changed the plates on the Ox, I decided to strip everything down and I weren't going to put it back together until I get that case done. So I stripped everything out of the case and decided I was going to make some nice stand-up rails with 20mm V-slot. I had the stepper drivers originally mounted on the back of the Ox, which gave me the idea I could actually use these and stick them on like shelves if you like, and anything else I can use can have their own shelves. So just to give you an idea, this is what I'm looking for all the parts inside the machine. So I just need some more shelves now. I got one from my burnt out driver, but I don't think that's gonna be quite enough. So I think I'll just have to print something on my 3D printer. It's not the best of 3D printers, but it does the job. So we can print a load of these shelves out and start fixing our boards to them. The smooth stepper will fit on one nicely by itself. Right, let's get everything else put on shelves then. I decided to put the smooth stepper over the top because the way the ribbon cables worked out for port 1 and port 2, which I'll be using, it just made it nice so the cables dropped down the back behind the stepper drivers, and then it came out and it would plug. Well, it would plug just right for the breakout board. Well, I got a few cutouts on the back of this one, and well, it wasn't until I got to printing this board that I realised I could actually print the standoffs for the board on it and screw it down to them standoffs. So it was all jointed in one, but still, plenty more plastic. And I found a use for my Dremel. I dread to think I literally bought this to run the Ox with. A quick skip forward now. I've wired the cables back on for the stepper drivers ready to go in, and just getting the power cable ready. And of course they're never long enough on these ATX cases. They weren't exactly made for this. Not forgetting, cover all your joints with some heat shrink. We don't want any shorts going on inside the machine at all. I do love the smell of heat shrink, especially with a soldering iron. And I found another use for the Dremel. Listen to all that power, absolutely great. Oh well, I didn't have it on full anyway. I was a bit scared in case I just twisted that cable to absolutely nothing, but it just makes it a lot easier to twist it up like that so it can be slotted down the back of the case. I'm using a bit of ribbon cable for me end stops. These are going to connect to another board which you'll see later on in the video. It's just, to me, instead of having loads of wires running to different switches, to just have one wire run into all the switches, but you'll see more about that later on. So now I've got to get all these cables plugged into all the stepper drivers once again, but I think I'm going to shorten a lot of these and make it a little bit more presentable, if you like, when you take the case cover off to work inside. And you can always guarantee when plugging cables back in, you've had everything there when you was unplugging it, obviously, but when you go and plug everything back in, of course there's one plug missing. Where the hell's that gone? Always happens to me. Anyway, it should look like this, nice and tidied up, and we'll move on to the next step, which I'm going to fit some sensors onto the Ox machine itself. I got my eye on a lovely anodised black aluminium box to mount on the side. But before I go out and buy one, I'm going to house everything in this plastic one temporary, just to make sure it will fit. It's going to be mounted on the other side, not this side. There's one thing I hate is cables everywhere. So I decided I'm going to try and hide as much cables as possible. So I never noticed this until I was going to drill a hole to actually get this through this beam here. But then I noticed these sat in the middle here. Thought, let's send the wires through there. I got 3 slots here that will get the wires to the other side of the carriage without having to run them on top and cable tie them. Just push that in there, give it a quick pull, and you know, it's tidy. It's out the way, nothing can hit it in the middle. So if you thought I cut them covers a little bit short and missed out some corner blocks in the corner there, well, there was a reason for it. This is where I'm going to mount my proximity sensors for the limit switches. Let's get it lined up. They're black at the moment, but all they've done is painted with a Sharpie. They only come orange. Why would I want an orange one on the machine? Again, this is going to get run to the other side of the ox to where the box is going to be mounted, and that's all the cables on this side of the ox. Once they're hidden, that's it, out the way. As you can see, I've taken one of my nice new ooze nest plates and drilled a hole in it. This is for the Z stop, which is going to be mounted on the bottom here, and then the cable run all the way up. There we go, another orange one been painted, and we'll screw this to the bottom of the Z carriage. I'm not going to use my lovely sticky tape on this one because I don't think it will last too long. So a nice screw in the end there to hold it nice and tight in case it bumps into any of the work surfaces or that. All nicely fitted, and the cable run up the Z carriage behind one of the plastic covers and brings it out near the stepper motor mount. And then I can run the cable with the stepper motor wires. So instead of having a sensor and the stepper motor running there, we'll just have one sleeve of cables, if you like, running down to the machine. You know, I was originally going to drill a hole in this rear mount here and run the cables to the other side, but I thought, what the hell, might as well buy some of this cable tracking and do it properly. Originally started off with a 30mm one, but I was able to cut that down to one of these 20mm ones purely because I've got one of the Y steppers and the sensors from the other side running through that middle rail, so I didn't need that width anymore. So I decided to go, like I said, for one of these 20mm ones, which then I can run straight over the top here and take the cables down for the Z axis. And yes, I made that too short, so we'll give this top a little bit of a haircut. I don't know why this stuff's horrible for fraying. I've seen a load of people just put cable ties on the top here, and I can't see the point. You just go that little bit extra and give it some heat shrink. But I think this one's just a little bit too big for me soldering iron, so we're going to use my lovely big air blower. And no, I didn't burn my fingers, it's just the way the camera looks. It looks like you're going to burn them, but I didn't. But get that nice and tight and it'll be okay. Using a smaller cable track made it a bit difficult for getting it down to the other side, but I persevered and eventually I got it to pop out the other side. But then I realised I haven't threaded it through that top one. I had two choices. I could cut it off, or I could just persevere again and thread it all the way through. So I did. I threaded it to realise I got to pull it back out again because I ain't put them extra links in. Oh no, I've left some music playing in the background. Sia. I wonder which countries were banned Sia then. I've done the same on the x-axis. Just tied it up. It was only a short piece that was going to connect straight into the cable track, but what the hell, might as well do it right. I keep getting the urge to just quickly do things and get it done, but I'll persevere and do it right. Well, that's it for part 1 of the wiring. I've got all the wires into the cable chain now and they're all run to the other side, ready for me to wire up, which will be in part 2. So I'll join you in part 2 of the